Guys, my husband's cousin is in love with him, and you will not believe the lengths that she goes to try to steal my husband away from me. My husband's aunt, Jasmine's mother, introduced Jasmine to him at the peak of COVID, and said they should get to know each other more, and if they like each other, then they'll move on the process of getting married. My husband said no, but Jasmine's mother insisted, and then told Jasmine that my husband was interested. That's when Jasmine starts communicating with my husband, but he doesn't reply. It got to the point where Jasmine's parents started pressuring him to message Jasmine, and he would constantly turn on his Facebook active status and would sometimes shut his phone off. It got to the point where Jasmine begs her parents even more to get in contact with him. I've told my husband just to please block Jasmine and her parents, but he refused. It has caused major issues in our marriage. Whenever we get into an argument, he threatened to tell his aunt that he'd like to marry Jasmine. This was not the first time he said that. Well, fast forward to yesterday. My husband tells me that Jasmine's father called him just to tell him that she is in Europe now and is trying to come to America in hopes that they could get married. The harassment did not freaking stop. He asked my husband to give Jasmine a chance, and instead of saying no, my husband tells him he'll think about it. I lost it right then and there. I was angry at him for not saying no, and he says he did not want to be rude. I've warned my husband many times that they're just using Jasmine as some sort of pawn to get my husband's money, and that he was too freaking ignorant to see it. He brushes it off and says I'm overreacting. Now that she's in Europe and is hoping to come to America and marry my husband, I'm at a loss here, and unsure of what I should do. I've since stopped being romantic and intimate with my husband as I'm too angry and disgusted. I'm really considering giving him an ultimatum because I'm so freaking done. Hey guys, Mr. Reddito here. So, I did not read the title in the beginning of this, which is going to throw you a curveball. But just know, there's also too many updates on this story. The title of this story is, Husband's Cousin is in love with him, and both her and her parents are harassing him to marry her. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and let's hop into this update. I noticed that a lot of people have commented and messaged regarding my updated post, which got shut down. I was on the phone with my husband, as he isn't here right now, and asked him once again if there was anything going on between him and Jasmine. He burst into laughter and kept dodging the question. I'm so angry that I hung up the phone and told him I need screenshots of text messages and that will be proof. He hasn't given me anything, and I'm fighting with him and asking him to just send me the screenshots, but he's refusing. Update number 2. He's now threatening to call another girl, who's not Jasmine, to try to get married to her. I'm currently ignoring his messages and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I will not be communicating with him until further notice, as he's now making threats and is trying to get my father involved in this whole mess. In case my dad asks what the hell's going on between me and my husband, I'll show my father all the messages to back up my claim and explain what's been happening. I think I'm officially done with this man, and all the trust that I have is completely gone. Okay guys, so my opinion on this story is, I think the husband is honestly a piece of crap. He was displaying so many red flags. Let me just read you this comment and let's talk about it in the comment section. The fact that he rubs her in her face during fights is pathetic. I don't know how long you've both been married, whether you have children or not, or are you both still in love? And why the heck is Jasmine so fixated in marrying your husband? Sit with your husband and ask him clearly what it is that he really wants. And in case he's hesitant to answer, then baby, you know what to do. Dump his butt. Guys, I have to say I agree with that comment. The way Jasmine and the husband were acting were super strange. Let me know your thoughts on this story. Drop them down below in the comment section. And we're going to switch to our final story of the day. And let me just tell you, this one's pretty epic. Am I the a-hole for being mad at my parents that they got my other brother a car for his 18th birthday? And not on mine. And then causing the whole family to be up in arms about it. Alright guys, here comes story number 2. Hear me out. My brother, 20, got a car for his 18th birthday. Not a new car or anything, it was a 20-year-old Lexus that was in pretty good shape. He rubbed it in my face for the rest of the time he was a senior in high school. Compared with my brother, I get just as good of grades as he does. Better in some cases even. I worked my hardest in the hope of fairness. I even did some volunteer cleaning up garbage in my local area. Then my 18th birthday came and went a few weeks ago. The only thing I wanted, the only thing I was hoping for, was a car. I was expecting something like a new car or a sporty car, just something reliable like my brother got. The party wasn't anything like my brother's 18th. For his 18th, my mom baked the cake herself. It was delicious. Layered chocolate pudding cake. I got a sheet cake from the supermarket. For his, they got a DJ. For mine, it was my dad's old boombox with a couple of mixed CDs. We went through the whole party and I figured my parents might have just been waiting to spring a surprise gift on me. But yeah, it never happened. So I asked them while things were wrapping up, why there was no car when my brother got one. They said that they felt like he worked harder for it. I asked what did he do that I didn't? Because I did all that, if not more. My grandma was nearby and heard everything, and then she asked them why as well. She ended up lecturing my parents that she was very, very disappointed in them for showing favoritism. Then she proceeded to announce to everyone still there that my parents thought it's fine to get their firstborn son a car and a DJ, but not their second. And then she even pointed out how much harder my parents tried for my brother's 18th birthday than they had for mine. My uncle was the first to stand up and say something, then everyone else who'd not left yet. I ended up just walking away and going to my room to sit and think. I got a few I'm sorry calls from relatives, and my grandparents convinced me to go out with them for the evening. But when I got back, my parents were mad and told me I'd shame them in front of the whole family. I just walked past them because I didn't want to fight. The next few weeks went with a silent treatment between both of us. But then a few days ago, my parents suddenly surprised me with a 1998 Subaru Legacy that runs great. Then practically threw the keys and the title in an envelope and said, "Have fun." I got the car. And they're paying for insurance for the next 6 months like they did for my brother. I know, a car isn't really a right, but a privilege, so I feel like I've essentially blackmailed my parents into getting me one. Am I the a-hole for all this playing out this way? Hey guys, Mr. Reddito here. So the story does not end there. I actually found another update from this original poster, so I'm going to read that now. If you're new to the channel, the best way to support me is easy. All you have to do is click that subscribe button, and the like if you're enjoying the video. Let's get right into this update. So, now I can tell you all the rest of what happened before college starts. But before that, there's some things I want to get out of the way from previous commenters and some messages. I literally needed a car because there was no way for me to get a job without one. I had no personal transportation and live over 10 miles from the nearest bus stop. So for those who keep telling me to give the car back because they think I was either too spoiled and to accept life is unfair, or that I should not take handouts, or I should not accept gifts from crappy parents, etc., please just stop. My inbox was crammed full when I logged back on that it took some time to go through it all. It doesn't really matter anyways though. I did get a part-time job that later went full-time for the summer after I graduated. But 3 weeks into working part-time, the Subaru blew the head gasket while on the highway at 45 miles per hour. The temperature gauge redlined and I had to pull over and call for help. My grandparents took a look at the car and found that someone had ran a lot of gasket sealer in it, and it was still in the coolant. The car was basically Band-Aid back together before my parents bought it. Yep, a lemon. And was there then barely hanging on by a thread. It drove great and I was never pushing the car hard as I'm a kind of a slow driver. My parents claim no prior knowledge of the problem, but their only real reaction was to shrug and say it was karma for making me get a car in the first place. Well, that was a mistake because my grandparents were right there to witness that. They tore into my parents like none other. My grandma told me to go wait in my room and let them sort this out. It was 2 hours before I called back into the living room. My parents were on the couch and both look like they've been metaphorically hit by a truck. My uncle and 2 other relatives were there now too, and my grandparents have gotten it out of them that when they bought the car, they just looked for the cheapest thing they could find. It was in the area and it still ran. And bought it no questions asked. They didn't even bother to inspect the vehicle, let alone properly read the ad for it. My uncle, who knows a thing or two about vehicles, told me that the engine would basically need to be rebuilt because the head gasket warped the block, and it cost more than the car's worth just to fix it. I had to call into work and tell them I was unable to make it because my car was dead. They understood and basically put me on some sort of unpaid leave for the moment. Now, I want to point out that what happens next I had no involvement in. My grandparents just told me to chill for a while and let them and my parents take care of this. Well, they did. A few days later, they came back with a 1999 Honda Civic hatchback with 180,000 miles. It was white, like my Subaru was, and it drove great. It's not all-wheel drive like the Subi, but it's great on the roads and gets better gas mileage. There was also a list of all recent repairs done to the car, things like a new radiator and stuff like that. My uncle also went over the car tooth and nail before they got it. I thanked everyone profusely. My parents thought they had all the elation and joy. They said very little and just walked away. There wasn't even that vibe that had last time of acting like they were giving a new toy to a brat. If I could put it into words, the way they acted was just pure defeat. The Subaru got resold later for $400 junk, since that was the best we could get for it with a blown head gasket. And that money was put into my savings. That's only half of what happened though. You see, when I said I did better in school than my brother, I wasn't kidding. My brother got a 30% scholarship after he finished high school. Well, I got a 50% one. Not at the same college, of course, but at one comparably good that was also closer. To say my parents were shocked is an understatement. Of course, they just both looked unhappy as soon as the shock wore off. I decided it would not be a good idea to poke the bear by asking them about it now. But my grandma thought otherwise and poked that bear like it was wintertime in hibernation. I mean, really poked it. First, she asked if my parents were happy for me, and they claimed they were, but really did not show it in their attitudes. So my grandparents finally asked what their problem was. Why did they dislike me? Their second son was doing great, and even went above expectations, and they can't be happy about it? Did they want me to fail? Were they hoping I'd fail? What is the deal? My mother looked really upset, and my father could not look me in the eyes. They both meekly said they were happy for me and managed to say that they want me to take the world by storm when I get this college degree. And even said they'll be happy to help pay for some tuition as well, just like they are for my brother. My grandparents both sharply said that they better keep their words, because there should never have been any favoritism, period. I thanked my parents for their help, and got a light, if not limp, handshake from my father, and a very stiff hug from my mom. It all felt so forced. I was, and still, am extremely thankful for the car and the tuition, but my parents just drained the room of all emotion. I ended up asking if my grandparents knew what it was that made my parents act this way. I asked if I was an accidental pregnancy or something, and they gave me the quote, "It's time we told you." Well, I'm not adopted like so many asked, but I was unplanned. Sort of. You see, my parents wanted both a girl and a boy, but got 2 boys instead. My brother came out as a boy, so my parents were really hoping to get a girl on the next go. And they had a prior agreement to stop after 2 children, and they never got a girl. My grandma told me they refused to find out my gender till after I was born. They were convinced I'd be born female, and they bought a lot of baby stuff for a girl, and they just did not get one. My grandma said I ended up using all my brother's hand-me-downs till I was 3, because my parents had bought so much girl stuff in advance that they just couldn't use. So I was just a disappointment to them from the time I was born. My grandparents said that they knew my parents are screwed up, but they've been that way for a long time now, and there's no point in expecting them to change. Since then, my parents haven't spoken too much about me about college. In fact, they ignore the subject as much as they can. And thanks to some of the warnings I got from people who messaged me, making me paranoid, I called the college I've been accepted to and made sure to tell them that if anyone calls or emails pretending to be me, or my parents call trying to say I'm not coming, then to call me for a double or even triple check if anything like that happens. I mean, I kind of doubt my parents would do that sort of thing, especially after everything that's happened, but I feel like playing it safe was the best option. Though there was something that I really did not expect to happen, and that was my brother calling me. He called me out of the blue to talk. He said our grandparents called and told him everything. He told me he was sorry for what's happened, and in his own way, he hopes that once I'm on my own, I won't need to ever come back. He actually admitted to me that when he finishes college, he's going to stay in the state he's in now because he likes it there. Our parents and I actually really want him to come back when he gets his degree, but it looks like that's not happening. I said I don't blame him. I might do the same. The rest of the conversation was a bit awkward because we aren't really used to speaking to each other anymore. My grandparents and the rest of my family held a surprise party for me over the weekend, and they made it almost like a repeat of my brother's 18th birthday. There was a DJ, a big old chocolate cake my grandma made. I couldn't thank them all enough. My parents attended the party, but they were like wallflowers the entire time. They didn't say or do much, just stayed sitting at a far table in the corner and drank their beer. The look of defeat they had was even greater now. I think the party was just to congratulate me, but also rub in my parents' face that they should have done better. Because, to be honest, the rest of the family had made their disappointment and them clear. They seemed like they wanted to leave the party for a while. Can't say I blame them. They were being humiliated into staying where they were. My grandma said that you're never too old to be taught a lesson in humility.
Yeah, so I don't agree with these parents at all. Let's check out a couple comments. Holy crap, wholesome, healthy, extended family. Have a kid's back from their crappy parents is nice to see for once. Yeah, I was expecting half of OP's extended family to be siding with the parents and harassing a high school/college student. My faith in humanity has been restored. So guys, it seems like the overwhelming majority think that these parents are absolute a-holes. Let me know how you would have gone about handling this situation if you were OP. Remember guys, if you're new here, we do every single day a daily video. So stop by, subscribe to the channel, and drop a like down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful night. The latest Mr. Reddito producer, Christine Billings. Thank you so much for the support.